In the car world, there are very few types of cars that get as much respect as sleeper cars. Cars that don't necessarily look rapid, but in reality are way quicker than they would appear. And in this video, I'm going to give you 5 amazing sleepers that you could buy for under £15,000 that fit that bill to some description. How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Don't forget that I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries might be different. And whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. If you like sleeper car videos and want to see more like this, hit the like button. 1,000 likes, I'll make another video on this topic. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite sleeper car ever is. Subscribe as well if you're new here. Without further ado, let's get into the video. But before we get into the video, I want to say a massive thank you to Skillshare for once again agreeing to sponsor this video. Yes, they are back again, offering the first 1,000 people to hit the link in the description or the pinned comment down below their first month of Skillshare completely free. Now, I absolutely love Skillshare because they answer some of the most important questions that I get asked on this YouTube channel, and they make my content better. It's an online learning community with thousands of classes and members from around the world who can come together and learn a multitude of skills. Now, I've worked with Skillshare before, and I've mentioned that I've used them to help with my videography, so taking videos of cars and pictures of cars and that kind of stuff. But more importantly, one of the questions I get all the time is how to get started as a YouTuber. Well, you don't need to listen to me because I am but a car YouTuber. You can instead listen to Sonia Rasula, who has an amazing course called Start Your Creative Career, Build a Sharp, Smart Online Presence. And they'll give you all the basics to help you on your way to becoming a YouTuber. So if you're thinking about a career move, or you're thinking about learning a new skill, or you just want to be more creative, then Skillshare is the right place for you. So as I said, the first 1,000 people to hit the link in the description down below or the pinned comment will get their first month of Skillshare completely free. So make sure you go and do that after we finish watching the video. Massive thanks to Skillshare again for committing to sponsor, and let's get back into it. Let's get this list started with a car that you could never exclude from a sleeper car list. Arguably royalty within the sleeper car space, the Volvo V70R, which was built by Volvo to satisfy the needs of car people who had become parents, so needed something practical but still wanted to go fast. In fact, it came as a result of consumer research that had shown men with families generally agreed that estates could be very cool cars if they just had a bit more power and performance. So despite its relatively sedate exterior, it gets a 2.5 litre turbocharged inline-5 engine that produces 300 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.7 seconds, which is not bad at all for a family car. And it's not just about power, this car gets some great equipment to make it handle itself well in other areas, like the large Brembo brakes for better stopping power, and the Olin suspension from factory, which is just mental. Add on the Haldex all-wheel drive system, which has been designed specifically to spread the power in a way that ensures the car handles well, and you're onto a winner. This all makes sense when you consider the V70 as a successor to the Volvo 850 touring car, which is in itself a bonkers estate race car that led the way into the world of fast estates. What's great in addition to this is just how practical it actually is, given it can tow up to 1,800 kilograms and has almost 500 litres of storage space. This is the cheapest car on the list, starting at around £8,000 at the bottom end, and you won't need to spend more than £10,000 to get a pretty decent example. The key problems with this car unfortunately appear around some of its redeeming features, like the Haldex and the Olin suspension. On top of this, the automatic gearbox has been known to have issues, which has unfortunately led to manuals becoming more expensive and more difficult to find on the market. All in though, there's a great community around these, and being the oldest car on the list, there is plenty of information on forums and online to learn from. Now, the Chrysler 300C isn't necessarily your average sleeper here in the UK, as it is quite a distinctive car, so it does stand out compared to many other cars on the roads. That said, I think the SRT8 is ridiculous in terms of performance and pretty surprising, and I personally wouldn't have expected to see a 6.1 litre Hemi V8 engine under the bonnet with a 425 brake horsepower output and a 0 to 60 time of 4.8 seconds, which is pretty mental. It's effectively a muscle car, especially compared with other offerings in the UK market, but at the same time, the standard 300C was often named the poor man's Bentley, so I'm not sure people know exactly what category it belongs to. There are just 134 of these on the roads in the UK now, and prices have actually been increasing over the past few years, so this clearly a set of people who like them and want them, but I'm pretty sure the majority wouldn't even know what they were looking at with one of these. I think the coolest thing about this car is the fact that you're buying an SRT badge, in line with other cars like the Dodge Viper SRT10. The number refers to the number of cylinders, hence is the SRT8 of course, and SRT stands for Street and Racing Technology. But even with that badge, visually it's not too dissimilar to the standard 300C, with just a few modifications around the bumpers and grille, plus the larger alloys of course. These are very rare in the UK as I mentioned, so it's hard to find them available, but here's one for £14,000 with around 70,000 miles on the clock, though I've seen them available for sub 10k. The SRT8 engine is actually known to have very strong reliability, and at least according to owners I could find on forums, it's actually pretty decent. The key problems to be aware of stem from sensor failures for the automatic gearbox, but it's worth noting that the standard 300C is known to have a ridiculous number of problems, so be aware of the potential build quality issues that these can come with. You might expect performance out of a C class, or an A class, or an SL class, or maybe even an S class, but the ML class, maybe not. The Mercedes ML63 AMG is an absolute beast for under £15,000 when it is literally a family SUV. To ferry the kids around, you get a 6.2 litre V8 engine that makes 502 brake horsepower, the joint most power of all the cars on this list, which gets to 60 in 4.8 seconds, matching a 300C. This is the second generation ML class from Mercedes, and it was the predecessor to the GLE class that we know today. It was the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 SUV in the world on release, and the platform is shared with the GL class, which is basically a long wheelbase 7-seater version of this car. Despite being an SUV, it gets the full AMG treatment, with the engine being hand built and the exterior getting a few tweaks to make it stand out a little bit from the standard car. In reality though, it literally looks like your average Mercedes SUV. I'm not sure many people would realise it's putting out 500 plus brake horsepower from an engine you'd expect to find in something much sportier like a C63 AMG. This actually led it to being popularised as a super SUV by some media outlets, which makes sense given just how powerful it really is compared to your average 4x4. £13,000 the lowest you'll find one of these listed for, and for £15,000 you'll get a 2007 example with around 70,000 miles on it. It was supposed to compete with and beat cars like the Porsche Cayenne Turbo S, at least in terms of pace, and most old reviews I could find were absolutely glowing, with many noting the oxymoron between how lovely a place it was to be and yet how aggressive it was to drive. With that in mind, build quality is supposed to be amazing on these according to long-term owners, with great durability both build and engine wise, though problems can cost an absolute bomb. For example, the door corrosion issue that came up on some early models cost £6,000 if it wasn't done under warranty. Don't forget also that the running costs are dire, so while the car might not look like a super fast sports car, it will run you as much to drive. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I wanted to interrupt very quickly just to mention the Discord server, which I made many months ago now, but it's starting to hotten up and get way more members. So if you want to chat to me and many other like-minded car people over on the Discord server, it's a great place to hang out, chat, post pictures of cars, do all the fun stuff. And yeah, lots of people are having a great time over there recently, so I thought I would mention it to you guys too. Anyway, back to the video. In the car community, the RS badge of course carries a lot of weight. People who know cars know that the RS is a fast Audi. People who don't like cars and have no interest would likely not consider this to be something interesting. For example, I asked my fiance, who has little to no interest in cars, what she thought of the RS4, and she responded, "Looks like something my uncle would drive, but a B-Tech version." Little does she know that this car hosts a 4.2 litre V8 engine that produces 414 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, turning this normal Audi estate into a bit of a weapon. Of course, it comes as a saloon and cabriolet too, but it's the estate that, in my opinion, is most sleepery. It also has some incredible ancestors like the RS2 and previous generation RS4 that led the way for Audi to get into making fast estates in the first place. The exterior does of course have some upgrades compared to the standard car, with the wider wheel arches, more aggressive grille and alloys being the key features, plus the RS badging, and on the interior it's a similar story, with sport seats and some other carbon or performance looking parts that signify the car's prowess. But more practically, the engine is literally built to near racing levels of performance and perfection, given the A4 was used in DTM and it gained amazing reviews for how well it drives. This is proven by its track capability, considering it nearly beat 8 minutes around the Nürburgring, which is no mean feat for a family car of its age. The RS4 starts at around £12,000 and for £15,000 you'll still be looking at a pretty high mileage example. As I mentioned, the engine in these was built to be very strong, so you should feel pretty confident in its reliability. However, for cars that mainly do city miles, carbon buildup can be an issue. As it's a VW group car, of course coil pack failure is a key issue, plus with age there have been suspension failures and similar issues with wear and tear under the car. The Jaguar XFR takes the top spot, as like other cars in this video it isn't super leery. In fact, it doesn't doesn't even look like a properly fast version of a normal car. And it definitely doesn't look like a car with a 5-litre supercharged V8 that makes 502 brake horsepower and does 0 to 60 in just 4.7 seconds. What's crazy about that figure is that the more aggressive version of the XFR, the XFRS, is only 0.3 faster to 60, and that is by no means a sleeper given how much flair it has aesthetically, including that massive rear wing. Therefore, in terms of flair to speed ratio, this car has sleeper written all over it. It of course is a successor to another sleeper, the S-Type R, which other than a few minor exterior modifications, doesn't look anywhere near as fast as it really is. The XFR updated this formula to a more modern era for Jaguar, with Ian Callum leading the design of it. It sits in a similar class to cars like the M5 and E63 with not dissimilar performance, and remains comfortable enough to drive with its adaptive dampers and executive interior features to ensure drivers and passengers are kept in a level of luxury. That's absolutely crazy for a car that was literally only half a second slower on the Top Gear test track than the hallowed V10 M5, and faster than cars like the Aston Martin V12 Vantage, which again isn't a sleeper at all. These start at around £11,000, and £15,000 you'll get a 2010 model with around 70,000 miles on it. The engine is known to be pretty strong if maintenance schedules have been closely followed, if not brought forward for a bit of extra safety, but for owners that have had problems with the AJ V8, it has been very costly. The key problems I could find though stem from the E-diff, and there is some corrosion known on external parts of the car like the boot lid. Don't forget also that running costs are pretty high, but to be honest, what can you expect from a supercharged V8? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to let me know in the comments down below what your personal favourite sleeper car ever is. I think for me personally, I have to go back to the old school Volvo. I think for me personally, I need to go back to the old school Volvo estates like the 850 for example. Make sure you hit the like button as well if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe as well if you're new here. Massive thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, to you guys as well for watching, and to the patrons for their continued support. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.